Hey there, and welcome to Business Over Cocktails. I'm Lauren Najar, your host and hype woman, bringing you real talk about entrepreneurship. This is the podcast where we dive into the bold whys, the messy middles, and the game-changing aha moments that lead to success. You'll hear unfiltered stories from entrepreneurs, plus bite-sized solo episodes inside the Business Chaser series, where we cut through the noise and get straight to what actually drives sales, visibility, and growth. So whether you're here to get fired up or finally feel seen in your business journey, pull up a seat, pour your favorite drink, and let's have a real conversation. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Business Over Cocktails. Today, I am really excited to have Julie Hankins. I have connected with her recently, and she is local to me. And so I'm excited because I get to learn more about you and your story. I do know some, but I don't know all of it. So Julie Hankins is a financial strategist, fractional CFO as well. And if you don't know what any of those things mean, she just knows the numbers. So that's what you can associate with her. So thank you, Julie, for coming.
Thanks so much, Lauren. I'm so excited for this podcast.
So I wanted to just start out by asking you, we can talk about why finance, but this podcast, we're going to get to know your story. And we're just going to have a conversation. So the first question I have is, were you always the numbers person?
You know, I really was always the numbers person. I loved math and I loved numbers, and I had a chance in high school to take accounting classes, and I was like, this is it. This is the thing. How could I take numbers and play with them all the time? Which I know is not everyone's story. And I know that's, a lot of people don't love numbers, but I find that they're so fun to just balance everything. So, call it an OCD tendency, whatever you want, but it just felt so satisfying to see things on paper and make it all work out. So yeah, I would say I definitely have been a numbers person. There was a little blip where I think I tried to run away from numbers for a little while, but it all came running right back to me, even when I was trying to avoid it.
It's so interesting that you said that, because before you just said that last part, I was going to say forever, I did not want to be known as math. I always said that I hated it, but I went to school for finance as well. I have a finance degree. I love business. I love the numbers. But now building my business, I know that I love data and I love how things can, if I were to choose between finance and accounting, I love finance because there's equations, plug and play, everything has 2 + 2 = 4, right? So that's how my brain works, and I'm very analytical. And I think forever, even if I were to think about high school, I wasn't proud to say I liked math because I don't know, when maybe in the era we grew up, it was you weren't supposed to like math because that was nerdy or not cool. And I tried to say I liked anything else, but I was very good at math, and math came effortlessly to me. I was in honors math as well. So I resonate with what you said with I know that I was always a numbers person and I like the data, and I'm just very logical thinking, but I think just from a popularity standpoint, I just always never said oh yeah, I'm good at math, but I don't like it. I think that was what I would admit to people. And then I think I got to college. I'm no, this is what I meant to do, and started taking business classes and finance. I loved my finance classes.
Yeah. And I think there's such an evolution because the way that I loved numbers when I was younger was very different because it felt very structured. Here's your formulas. I was in honors math as well. I remember fighting. I wasn't initially in honors math in high school, and I was fighting with my high school teacher about I want to be in honors. I have more than 100%. Please, I want to be challenged. This is so fun. I just could eat it all up. But it was so structured around doing the homework and getting everything done. And it was a process. And so over time, I've learned I love the process side of things. And as I've developed in my career and then becoming an entrepreneur, I found just like you, data, it was give it to me all day long. I'll take us an Excel spreadsheet and how can I manipulate this to be able to give me information versus just trying to do the formulas and here's where everything is and that's the final answer. I'm well, what if? Like, where can we get further? And then that's really, truly what led me to where I'm at right now, which is like the financial strategy, the fractional CFO. We're always thinking about like, well, what are the what if scenarios? How do we get to the point or like the goals that you want? And so is that exactly what the love of math that I had in the beginning or the love of accounting? Not at all. But did it evolve to where it's at, like so naturally because of my curiosities around numbers and like the insights that they can give you? It just excites me so much because I'm like, you have no clue how much data you have sitting inside your business that you could be using to make so many decisions and like how fun that is to analyze it. And people just are like, oh, I hate numbers. No. I'm like, no, but girl, like, there's so much in there that is so fun that can give you so much information. You need to get excited about it.
I 100% agree. And it's about like working smarter, not harder.
Right.
Because, again, like I think building a business and now like developing the marketing side of things, and then you have to create content and be creative in that way. So you're kind of like doing both sides. I definitely think I'm more of a logical, like it's easier for me to think logically. I'm definitely not, I think I am a creative, but I'm not as good as some other creatives out there. But that's my biggest thing, just like you said, is like when I'm coaching clients, it's so important to know your numbers because then you're not in constant creation mode. Because why would you ever want to do that? And that's why it's taking so much time for you to not only grow, but like that's why you hate content. That's why you hate social media. Like if you actually pay attention to your numbers and you see what is working, and even like not even just like the data of social media, of course, like we're talking about finances as well, like seeing like what offers are most profitable, seeing like where you're actually spending not only your time, but like money. Like, are you investing in and outsourcing and doing those things? Like, is it actually giving you that ROI that you want? And I think
Mhm.
that's like in this day and age with growing a business, it's so that part is lost. And that's something that I've noticed, again, coming from banking in the finance world. That's truly what has been lost when like everyone just thinks that you can grow on social media and make content go viral and then like, oh, the clients are coming, but no one is like doing bookkeeping or no one's like actually paying attention to their balance sheets and their profit and loss.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of it is too is like the piece where there's definitely the financial side, but like what you're saying, the other side of it, like I worked with some travel agents and it was like she wanted to know more about like the types of things that her clients were picking and choosing. She had thoughts about what, she saw that was consistent. But I was like, well, let's confirm it with the data. You have all of this information sitting there. Where are they booking the most? How far in advance are they booking out travel now compared to what you expected in the past? What is industry standard? Like, how can you have more predictability in your business? How can you figure out like, okay, conversion rates and like all these different like little bits and elements that helps make entrepreneurship feel less chaotic and less of the unknown, and some numbers that you can use to balance the difference between I have to make decisions with data, but I also have to marry that together with like my gut intuition of knowing the right way to go versus just like winging it. Because it's scary to wing it. And a lot of times, sometimes that is a greater part of the decision of just like, nope, I've got to go more with my gut than what the data is telling me because I'm pivoting or I'm switching what I want to do, or this is a brand new offer and I have no idea and I have inklings about it. There is some data to help you back up some of your decisions. But sometimes when you need to like lean in further in your business, it's like there's tiny little things inside of your numbers and in the data around decisioning, around your customers, around social media, like all the efforts, like you said, the ROI, it's seemingly endless. And it doesn't matter what size business you are, that data exists.
Mm-hmm. No, totally. But I want to go back to your story.
Yeah.
And I know that you weren't always like a CFO, financial strategist. So how did you become this?
Yeah. So, I kind of had the traditional track out of college. I was going to be a CPA and audit and all these different things, like, going full force. I went into that world. I had a great experience, but it was like this was just not for me. And so I kind of left that and ended up in a couple of different places where I was hired and worked at a publishing company and helped with accounting textbooks. And I'm really passionate about education. And then I decided, I want to do things on my own. So I freelanced for a while and I had built up a little business doing some consulting back in the education publishing space. But pandemic hit and I was like, something's got to change. Like, this just doesn't serve me anymore. I had two young kids. I was dabbling in the blogging world and creativity. And I was just like, I think that numbers and accounting just isn't for me anymore. I think I just need to step back from it. I know I'm not going to be a CPA. I don't want to be an auditor again. But other than in education, like, what else could I really do with this? I want to do something creative. My kids are home. Let me figure this out. But I found the more that I tried to create my own business around that time, the more I made friends with other people. And I was like, why are you not tracking your numbers? Why are you not doing your bookkeeping? What do you mean? Let me just help you with that. Like, just as a friend, I'll help you with that. And so I ended up in kind of reverse engineering back into the accounting world. But then the longer that I was doing that, I found I was never doing just straight up bookkeeping, because I was like, I'll just do bookkeeping on the side. It's real easy for me. It helps them out. I can charge, like a low rate. It'll be, good for them as a business owner. And then I was like, oh, this data thing that we were just talking about, like, did you know you have that in there? Like, I'll just make that for you. It's fine. Like, it's no big deal. I'll just add it on. And so I found I was like adding on all these things, and I was in these different communities and developing my skills and different platforms in the online world versus what I was taught kind of back in corporate world and back in school. Like, so much had evolved over that amount of time that I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know this is way more than bookkeeping. And there is a lot that I'm doing and getting paid bookkeeping rates for. And so I was searching around just kind of through, Instagram or whatever, and something popped up on my feed that was a fractional CFO community. And I really connected with the person who runs this. His name is Mike. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's just so much that he's saying. I know now what to call, what the heck I'm doing, because I was never really in corporate world long enough. And the position that I was in was not in the finance department. I was in the publishing education side, that I just didn't have exposure to that. And the audit world, there is no such thing as like a fractional CFO in the audit world. Like, you're an auditor, you show up, like, you're there to help protect them from the IRS and the real, bad auditors. And so when I found that, I was like, oh my gosh, I finally know what to call myself, because I was struggling with that. And I was like, I don't want to feel like what I'm providing is not valuable. But I just knew that it was something so much more, because I was delivering so much more and being able to give that information. So that was kind of like 2021, 22. I really started like hitting that point. And then 2023, I was like, okay, I have to own this. I dealt with some mindset issues and like limiting beliefs around all of that. Like, am I allowed to do this? Can I say that? Oh, I don't have enough experience for this. And just like, struggled with that a little bit. And I was just like, okay, if not now, when? And who the hell is going to stop me? Like, I just have to go for this, because what I can do to help other people. I'm not trying to be a fractional CFO or a CFO of a multi-million, hundreds of millions of dollars company that is like, Fortune 100. I want to make impact where people can utilize financial strategy so they can make better decisions. And a lot of times I find that they have that need, but don't know how to fulfill that spot and don't know what to call it as well. But they know they need someone in that place. So it's like marrying the two together. So I was just like, okay, I just have to go all out. I cannot be afraid anymore. I have to push myself further, because I know this is what I want. And I know how impactful it can be in the connections I've made with business owners when I've been able to deliver that service, like how much it really does change the way they think about their business and for the good.
What do you wish business owners understood on the financial side?
I wish that they weren't so afraid of the numbers and the mindset issues or money issues or number issues that they've carried with them in their own life. Like, I don't go super deep into that area, but I think that there's so much overlap in your own personal experience with finances as a child and growing up, and however you deem yourself, if you're a numbers person or not, equals you are or are not able to figure that out as a business owner. Like, for your business, you have to treat it like it's your child. And part of that is you have to make sure that you are caring for that area of the business. And you cannot, regardless of the habits you have in your personal world and your personal finances, you have to treat this as its own separate entity in order to really be able to make the best decisions to carry it forward. And it's really hard to separate that. It's really hard to separate out those mindset issues. But I go back to like, money is a tool. And so I wish that business owners really could think that way. And so a lot of what I do is just trying to help the people that I do work with kind of come to that if they don't already have that opinion themselves and they have issues with money, because you can't become a victim to your own business if you're not willing to like jump in and understand the parts that you may not be great at and understand them just enough to be able to hire it out as soon as possible so that you can build a team who can help you with that and be specialized in those areas. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like the buck stops with you as the owner. If you want a business and you want to be an entrepreneur, you cannot avoid any area. You have to deal with every department, whether that's finance, marketing, client delivery, whatever it may be, product, like you have to deal with all of it. Otherwise, you might as well just go get a job.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think what we mentioned earlier is, there's so much more to growing your business than posting on social media or creating content. I think like that's, at least in my experience and the clients that I've had, no one ever is really talking about the numbers or thinking of like, we talk about pricing and stuff too, how to price your offers and what's going to actually make sense for you. But I think the other thing that people forget is you also have to price yourself in a way that supports your financial goals, regardless if it's like scaling or just like paying your bills. And so I think like to your point too, like there's so many mindset struggles when it comes to finance, regardless, like you said, how you grew up culturally, your history with money, your relationship with money. And it's so important that as a business owner, that is something you actively work on for the better. And I think too, I'll ask you in a moment, like just to describe things that you do with clients, but people aren't even hiring a bookkeeper or somebody to help them with their finances. And something that I've said since day one essentially is, I think everyone is ready to like hire a VA or outsource something like, again, content creation, because that seems to be the main thing for a lot of business owners. But I've often said that the first hire you should make is a bookkeeper because, again, you wear so many hats that you like the money is so important for you to like for taxes and for keeping things straight and clear and organized. And that if you're not even doing like the bookkeeping in your business, then again, to your point, you might as well just go get a job. Like this is a hobby for you. Like this isn't just like, okay, like I have this much in my account, like this is how much I can spend. It's like, no, that's not it at all. So
Not it.
and you don't do bookkeeping. And so I want to make sure that people understand that like that's not what you do. So what are the things that you specifically do with clients?
Yeah. And I want to touch on that really quickly though. I do agree. Like one of your first few hires that you should have should be someone to help take over the numbers or the bookkeeping. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but something just to relieve you of that aspect because it is my pet peeve when I hear that people just make decisions based on their bank account balance only because that will not get you very far and you're going to end up questioning what the heck did I do with all my money and can I actually afford that? And I'm not saying like, you know, listen, I've been there where sometimes it's like, I just didn't have enough time. I'm my own worst client, right? And I needed to like make a decision and I didn't have enough time to do that. So I'm just like cross my fingers and hoping and wishing. But if you're operating at that level all the time, like it's not okay. Like you've got to address that. And you don't have enough time, especially if it's not where your wheelhouse is of your skills. You need someone who can do that for you. So then you can look at a couple of different things and then be able to make that decision. So yeah, I just love that you brought that up. But yeah, I mean, as a fractional CFO and like in my company, a lot of what we're doing is leaning into we're there to be an advisor, a partner with the business owner and kind of help you create that board of directors in a sense. We're not here to sit behind the scenes. We want to help you be able to look at what are all the things that you want to bring to life in your business and how that marries together with your personal life. So a lot of times what we do is figuring out where are you on your personal goal path and where are you on the business goal path? And are they really aligned in the values that you have? And then we say, okay, what does that mean you need to hire someone? How do we figure out when that's going to happen? Like what would have to be true in order for you to hire someone? Okay, here's where you are right now from a revenue and expense and profitability standpoint. And let's project forward. How can we make that happen? Is that something you can do today? Do you need to have savings built up in a buffer so that you feel better about that decision? And how much are you going to pay them? And what is that going to look like? And what does that take for you on capacity? And what will you have to give up? And then holding them accountable so that they can carry through on that plan. And a lot of the pieces of what we're doing look like projections, cash flow planning, budgeting. We look at your financial statements, and that's like all in the weeds. But ultimately, what it's doing is seeing the things that you want to change about your business. Do you want to buy a piece of equipment? Are you looking to upgrade? I was talking to someone the other day, and she was talking about in her business, she needed to upgrade her machines that she has in order to do the work that she gets done for her products. And she just had a really great, revenue like dump come in from a sale. And it allowed her to upgrade and improve her processes so she could get more efficient and become faster at what she's doing so that she can have a faster turnaround to get more product out the door. And so it was like, okay, something like that is amazing when it happens. And you need to eye something to be able to get to that point. And so just making those decisions, I think, because numbers can feel so loaded, having that advisor by your side to help you make those decisions is really helpful. So that's where we really love to be. I love also taking all of the things that we do and trying to put it in a visual way so that you're not like, blinded by your eyes when you're looking at spreadsheets. It can get a little dizzying at times, but I think it's important that we also help our clients. Like we do educate them on here's what a profit and loss is, and here's what the important numbers you need to see. And here's our perspective on what's been going on. Does that align with what you've experienced in your business? Okay, hey, we talked about you working towards this goal, but it doesn't seem like there's traction there. How can we help hold you accountable? And really just like being there for the business owner as someone that they can reach out to, that they know they can, have conversations with us that are vulnerable, that can be really hard, but also being able to know like, okay, we've got a path forward. We're walking with you along the way so that you can get to where you need to go. And then we do provide like that support. I have team to be able to help, like, if you do want it all together, with like accounting day-to-day support or bookkeeping support, we will do that. But that's not the forefront of our offer. Like we want to stick in financial strategy first and help solve those other problems and provide you with the insights and the information so that you can actually feel good about that area of your business and not just winging it.
Hmm. Yeah, I love the support of having that. And again, like I think people think that they're good with just like maybe a bookkeeper or even an accountant, and that's fine. But what you do is so much more. Like coming from a support standpoint, it's almost like business coaching too, or like business strategy. And that's why I think financial strategy or financial strategist fits so well in this role because, yes, deciding what offers or like what you're selling, products, whatever it is, like you have to also look at it from a financial standpoint, not just from oh, I want to do this and intuitively create this and that. What lights you up most about the work you do?
I think when I can see that clients start to love the numbers and they're just like, oh, wait, what's that again? Or, oh, I love how that feels. We have one of our clients that's been longstanding for the last couple of years. She came to us with not even a business bank account. And we were like, girl, you're making more than $1 million. How have you survived up to this point? And stuff was all over the place. But like a lot of times what we talk about, and we've been talking about this recently, is like, look at where you were not just 6 months ago and a year ago, but where you were a few years ago. You couldn't even imagine that thought in your mind of having the conversations that we're having now. And so being able to see those little micro transformations along the way, and then the longer that we're with someone, being able to see the truly big impact that we've been able to have, like, it makes me so happy because now we're no longer on the defense of talking about numbers and trying to fix a problem. We're on the offense and thinking ahead and being more, okay, if we make this decision, where can it possibly take us? And so you feel more in control of your business. And so I just love being able to be in that position with clients and talking about capacity management for them and can they take an offer on versus being in such a state of fear or stress because they're having to act out of fixing a serious issue like what she was in and trying to like get out of that state and instead be in a state that has much more confidence behind it. So that's my favorite piece.
Do you think anything has changed in your philosophy or strategy, like on how you do things over time?
Yeah, I think before like coming out of corporate and like the world that I was in, it was very much of like just deliver and this is the thing and like they will understand or you just have to like get it checked off the box and get it done. And I think that there's more power that comes from conversations and being able to really challenge back a business owner or ask more questions. And it is a lot like business coaching. How many times I tell someone on how to do something or what they should do, ultimately it's up to them to make the decision. And I can't care more about their business than they do. And so I was in a position in the past where I felt like with some clients, there was misalignment there, where I was just like, if you just do this one thing, like it will fix all your problems. And maybe not all her problems, but it will fix a lot of the issues that we're having in the recurring conversations. But I found what was happening in the past is that I would just tell her what to do. And she wasn't bought in. And so it was like, how can I get someone to come to the table to help them realize what's going on so that they don't feel like nobody wants to be told what to do. And especially like numbers and finances, it can feel like the eat your vegetables hour, and like you just do not want to do that, like dealing with little kids and whatever, like they never want to eat the vegetables and they're always so full, but then they are able to have the treats. And it's like, okay, well, how do I kind of take that and have these conversations with clients so that they feel more empowered by the numbers versus being like, this is just something that I have to do. Because nobody wants to show up to a call. I don't love it. They don't love it. We have to have hard conversations often. But whether or not it's a hard conversation or an easy conversation, I don't want to feel depleted afterwards. And I don't want my client to feel that way when we leave that call. Like I want them to feel uplifted or at least given information that they can utilize to be able to be like, okay, this is what I've got to do. Like we're in this situation and I've got to figure out, my way through, but now I'm equipped with the tools to be able to do that. And I can actually make traction.
I like what you said earlier. You mentioned like intuitively and listening to your gut. And I think that with finances, and we actually talked a little bit about this before we even hit record, it's so like black and white where, again, like I think that's why I find comfort almost in the finance side of things because it isn't variable a lot of times. Your decision making can be variable, but again, like we look at the numbers don't lie, the numbers don't have emotion behind it. And I think that's why sometimes I find it to be safe. And again, like finding that comfort there. But also, too, as a business owner wearing multiple hats, you do have a creative side. Like, again, creating a business out of nothing. If you think you're creative or you're not, like you are a creative, you're a creative entrepreneur. You are creative in other ways than like art and painting. And I love what you said earlier about being intuitive and having that intuition kind of drive your decision making. So, where do you feel it's important to let the intuition drive?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. I definitely think it has to come around. There's something about when you're the business owner, you know your most ideal client, and no one else will know that. No number can 100% identify you knowing how you believe that person is going to react or take in whatever they're working on or whatever their mental space is at. It's like that side of it, that feeling side is so important. The conversations I have specifically with this one client where we say all the time and that her avatar, her client, ideal client avatar, we've created a persona and her name is Jenny. And we always say, well, if you're thinking about shifting things here, that's great. What are the reasons why we're doing that? And how will Jenny react? Will this still serve Jenny? Where is she at in the season of her life right now that we're trying to serve her? Are we pivoting? Are we just looking for a different offer because she's in a different place now? Are we looking to change it because you want the business to change? And are we no longer serving Jenny? Does that mean that we're going into a totally different market? And maybe it's not Jenny anymore. And so a lot of that, I just think that there's something about when you own a business and you think about that person that you want to serve, creating kind of that ideal client avatar, that's where the intuition comes in so far. And just that gut instinct of like, I know how to solve this person's problem so well. And I know the place of where they're at. No number is going to say that. Numbers are going to maybe help uplift things or things that your gut is telling you about how maybe they'll convert or react or the things they've been asking for, in polls and surveys and whatever that might be. But ultimately, you know best as the business owner what is the right next step of what you're thinking and feeling. And those numbers just have to back that up when you make that decision on huge pivots like that.
Yeah, I love that. Have you ever experienced like mindset struggles around money?
Personally, myself or with
You.
clients? That's a good thing to ask. I will say that I think I've always treated money as a tool, but I've always felt like I'm not deserving of a lot of money, that I feel that money should be shared. And so I don't know if that's necessarily a struggle or a limiting belief, maybe a little bit of a limiting belief. But I think I just come from a place of, well, what am I like when I satisfy the things that I need to satisfy to help take care of my family and our wants and needs? There's only like a limit to kind of what I really want or what I feel is appropriate. And after that, it's like, how can I do to use my money to do something to make a good impact? And I've been challenged by that a lot before. I had a manifestation coach for a little while, and it was really amazing. And she was like, but there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with you wanting to have more money for whatever the purpose is, even if you feel like you fulfilled your current wants and needs, because in the future you may want more. And I think with that, I still struggle with it a little bit, but I think because that value of like charity is so important to me in like my life and what I've experienced and how I've seen like what it can do, it's still there, but it's balancing the difference between like, oh, I'm only allowed X dollar amount for my family and then the rest must go to charity versus like, how do I kind of feel it out where my number can keep expanding larger and larger for me of what our wants and needs are as a family and how we grow and the things that we want to do. And it's okay to spend that amount of money on stuff or go on vacations or not be super frugal about things and growing up. And also, I can do the charitable things at the same time because it's all important to me.
Yeah, I resonate a lot with like the deservingness because I think, and maybe you resonate with this because we're around we're the same age and we grew up in households where I think our parents and our generation, at least my parents were like this, where, hard work equaled money. And the harder you worked or the more you committed to or like overtime. And I especially think parents that worked in steel mills, my whole side of my dad's family worked at like the steel mills for their whole lives. My dad was there until he passed away. And so, he would commit to overtime and he would commit, Inland Steel was bought out by all of these other companies and now is it still Mittal? I don't even know what it
Oh,
is
no,
now.
it keeps changing.
Yeah. So there was just like a lot of stress with his job as well. So I resonate a lot with that because I know that that is some conditioning that I've definitely had to work on and I'm still actively working on it, that like I don't necessarily need to hustle 24/7 to then get that dollar amount goal that I want. But I also feel like, the deservingness of it all definitely comes from like a confidence standpoint from me. But then it also comes from like, if I have my basics covered, what else am I going to spend it on? I
Right.
don't consider myself a materialistic person. I like going out to eat. Like that would probably be my biggest thing I splurge on. I don't like shopping. I don't like buying clothes. Like I will buy clothes when I have to. And I don't like expensive purses. It's easy to have like a vision board and like, oh, I want this big house and like this car, but like that doesn't mean anything to me. So,
Right.
where do you feel the not deservingness come?
Mhm.
Where do you think that comes from with you?
Yeah. And I think it's very similar to what you experienced. Like most of my family, I would say like 90% of my family, and I have a really close knit, like aunts, uncles, cousins type of family outside of my family unit of brothers and mom and dad. Most of them are blue collar workers, union. You show up, you work, they stayed at a job for their whole lives. They did not change jobs and like semi frugal, but willing to spend some money, but like on only things that were like purposeful. Like we need a new car. Okay, got to get a car. But it's after we drove that car into the ground. It seems like a lot of things that I've carried with me has been like, if there's not, like, I think about decorating. I am awful at decorating our house.
Same.
We saved up a ton of money to build a house, and that was something me and my husband, we wanted more land, we kind of wanted more space and marrying in between, all of our visions and what our future life was, and found like a great lot, and we built a house, and it was like we got a boatload, save as much money as possible so we don't have this crazy loan, like, and it's already, it's just like a whole experience. And then you get to the point where it's like now I have to decorate it, and I'm just like I don't know how to buy things that don't have a purpose. Like art is just there. And I love art, for other people and I can see the appreciation behind it. But for me, I'm just like, I can't even make a decision because like I don't know how to connect to this. I don't know how to do this. It doesn't serve me. And so I find that a lot of decisions I make are based off of that. Like if there's not a multi-purpose behind a piece of furniture that I'm buying, then it's like, do we really need this? I don't know. Probably not. But then, I think that carries over into the way that I think about things at times. But it's like, as I've grown and, me and my husband and our marriage and like his way of life, we are very similar in our thinking. But he has really big dreams around travel and around, as much as he wants a lot of land, he doesn't like to take care of it. And I was like, well, then that will require us to be like Downton Abbey, and we need a groundskeeper, and we need a Mrs. Hughes and a Mr. Carson, and like we're building this whole life. And I was like, but that'll never happen because that's unrealistic. And who are we to do that? Like, who do we think we are? But at the same time, it's like, okay, at some point when I had my kids and they were younger, I got a house cleaner because I couldn't maintain that anymore. And again, that's not like having a full-time staff like in Downton Abbey, but that was such a big, hard decision to make because to me, it meant like I was a failure at keeping my house in check and doing all the things that I was taught or my parents, thought that I should be doing. But it was like, I'm drowning. And at that time, I had that previous business and these new kids, and my husband traveled. And it was like, I just need help. And it's okay to ask for help. And I think that carries over into business of just like, I can't do this all on my own. I need to be utilizing my money and my time in the best way possible. And so I've got to make decisions over in my business as well and not let those connotations of, well, that's wasteful, or you should be able to do it yourself, or you are capable of doing it yourself. But it's like, at what cost is it worth it? At what cost is it worth us not taking vacations or waiting until we retire? I mean, unfortunately, like my husband's mom, she retired and within 2 years she had passed away because of cancer. And it was just like they had waited so long to do like they did some travel, but to do these bigger things and all this time. And it was like she finally got there and retired. And then it was like, it's all gone. And so, we think about that and those things have impacted us to just be like, nope, it's worth us spending the money now. If we can afford it or we can make it happen to save up for something, like we're doing it. And we cannot avoid doing that. We have to be able to not let others' opinions or thoughts or whatever connotations that we've believed in the past stop us from doing things. And it's hard to execute sometimes, it's easier just to kind of stay, do the work really hard, have all this money. It's all for someone else or for the future or for the kids. And it's like, no, we need to remember again, like we've got to do this now because there may not be the future of what's next, in our family. I mean, my brother, he passed away in 2024 and he was 46 and like he had a hard life, but man, was he one to just like FOMO. I'm doing it all. I don't care. I'll jump out of a plane. Like, I'm going to live my life. He had a lot of health challenges in his life, but he just lived such a positive life. And so, like, seeing things like that, like, have to kick you out of the other areas where you are like, oh, I'm not allowed to do that. And it's like, well, who says? Like, I get to decide. Me and my husband get to decide for our marriage, for our family, for our kids,
I love all of that. And like, I can resonate a lot with that. And I think that's the most frustrating part for me, and especially the people around me that weren't there when I was going through cancer, because I do feel like there is that judgment of, because, and going back to like, not deserving and things like that, or like, what would I spend money on is I think after I've gone through all the things and my parents passed away super young and then me going through cancer as well, like coming out of the other side of that, I did go on like vacations with my friends and do my first vacations alone with like just my friends. I was
Yeah.
25, 26 years old and I had never been on like solo vacations with girlfriends. And so we started doing that and planning something every year. And I think that's a struggle sometimes with the people closest to me is like, I always want to go do these things and it's hard to get people to agree. And again, I don't think I'm like reckless. I don't think I just like to do and have these experiences. I will say if I rewind, I've been cancer free now for 12 years. I think if I were to go back 12, 11, 10 years ago, I was like needing to do something every weekend. And now like being a mom, like life has slowed down a little bit. And like now I have this business and I'm motivated with this business to build it. And like that's my favorite thing to work on. but I still am not the person to wait for a rainy day to do something. Like I would much rather commit to something now. And I battled with that too of like people judging me or, I'm going out and doing things. And, my husband and I, we moved to Chicago because we could. We had a house in a very good neighborhood, in a very good school system, and we had just gotten married. And my husband and I, like, we downsized to a 1-bedroom apartment in downtown Chicago, and everyone thought we were reckless or like doing things backwards, and we had a lot of judgment. And then I think too, especially people here in Northwest Indiana, they just have like this bad mindset about Chicago and maybe that it's dangerous or, why would you ever want to live in the city or people hate city life? And like we just really wanted to have that experience. And I really struggled with a lot of judgment from that. And everyone just thought we were going out all of the time because that's just maybe what they assumed about me. And I hated that. And I think about that now and I can go on a huge rant about that. But it's hard. It's hard, especially when you have those people that are close to you and you feel like they support you. But like then there's that judgment of like how you spend your money. However, I will say what I've also learned is that's more of a projection on them and their money mindset versus like what we're going through.
Yeah.
So the last thing I want to ask you is you mentioned like starting this business or kind of like freelancing doing these things because like you're a mom and you wanted to be home or like be with your kids. Your kids are a little bit older now. They're in school. What is your mission now?
Hmm. Ooh, what is my mission now? I would say, so I have like steps along the way, I guess for me, my mission. Because my girls right now are 6 and 10, they talk a lot about wanting to do all these things. Like they are multi-passionates. It's so funny because my older one is definitely the visionary and my younger one is more the integrator, and they will pair so well together if they ever team up in business. And I think in my mind, I'm always like creating that scenario. But they're so curious about a lot of different things. And I always say to myself, like, oh God, like caring for your children up until this point is just like, okay, how do you feed them? How do you teach them how to go to the bathroom? How do you teach them how to talk? Like there's all these things. And now it's like, oh my gosh, I have to teach them how to be great humans and citizens and like, have kindness and all these things. But like, how do I help them to then become the person that they want to become and know that they can do all these different things and, have the skills to take care of their finances and to know that they can do all these things and that everything isn't so black and white and every decision you make isn't the end of the world. And so it's like, okay, how can I empower my kids? Because I want that for them so that they don't become like the people that I work with who are afraid of money or like myself, who is worried about making decisions and wanting to enjoy spending my money on something that I felt like wasn't allowed or wasn't something that I was deserving of, right? And so a lot of what I think about now is more of how can I help create something that will impact their life and other kids like them. So in the future that they can become amazing business owners or at least just amazing people in this world who are not afraid of numbers, who are not afraid of the finances. So I think the far, far vision is something that's maybe it's, some summer camp program, maybe it's a non-for-profit, maybe it's just helping my kids themselves teach them those skills. But I feel like I'm built for something that's bigger and wider and impacting more people and kind of going back to, how the charitable nature and values that I hold. I have this dream of I want to donate $1 million in my life. But like, wouldn't that be amazing if I could make $1 million impact in different ways across the board? So it's like less about me and more of what's the like continual impact that we could make. So stepping stones there right now, I believe it's like financial strategy and helping the people I want to help. I think from there it grows to other business owners in a wider scope. And then from there, I think it's how do I do this so we can change the script for this younger generation so that they learn from our mistakes instead of harboring our limiting beliefs and help them make a change. So, yeah.
I have
That's where I'm at right now.
goosebumps when you're talking about
Oh, thank you.
that.
Love it. Yeah.
No, because I mean, I resonate with a lot of that because, just being on the banking side for so many years, and I was pretty young when I worked at a bank, and so naturally, most people that were coming in with accounts were all older than me, and I had way more financial sense and just knowledge of how to just manage a basic checking account and I'm not judging in that way. It's just that it just lacks education at that most basic level. And
Yeah.
I think the theme, if we want to talk about this podcast and this conversation, is truly like empowerment. And empowerment really drives you, and empowering not only a younger generation, but empowering business owners and just empowering people to take control of their finances. Like, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing if you have debt. It's not a bad thing if you have all these other issues. What matters is that you take control over it and you're not just like winging it, like you said.
Yeah. Don't fall victim to your circumstance. Like, you are still able to make a change no matter what your situation is. You are still able to reverse what issues you may have had. It may be an easy reversal and it may be a long reversal, but you can get out of it. Like, everything is figure outable. I don't know if you subscribe to Marie Forleo, but I
I've
truly
read that
believe
book.
that. Yeah, I love that. I truly believe that, where it's just like, okay, we can be in this situation and we can just let it happen to us and just be victim to it. Or like, you could take a minute if you need to have a little tantrum or whatever, like, deal with it, have your emotion, but like, we got to do something about it now. Because if we don't do something about it, no one else will. And like, again, I'm dropping all these quotes. Mel Robbins, she says, no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to save your business except for you. You can hire people to help you, but ultimately no one is coming to save you for your business. Just like if you're in a personal situation and you've made your bed and whatever that is of like decisions that you've made to get to that point, there's a point of empathy and needing to make sure that like, hey, are we taking care of our own personal needs? But now we can't let that be an excuse once we address those issues to continue the patterns that we've had before. If you truly have a dream and you want to make an impact or make a change and go after that, like, you have to be the one in control of doing that. You can surround yourself with amazing people to help you get there, but it's up to you.
I love that. Thank you so much for chatting with me
Thanks for
today.
having me. I always love talking with you, Lauren.
Yeah. If you want to share where people can connect with you.
Yes. So I am a big fan of LinkedIn. It's at Julie Hankins CO at the end. And you can find me on there. Follow me. I'm trying to up level my marketing game out there, but I do love stories and I do love DMs. I love having conversations with people. So if anything resonated with you, I'm always happy just to chat with people and connect as a human and be like, hey, we're experiencing this entrepreneurship journey together. Like, man, we do need to create that community around us. So if you ever want to chat, I'm always available.
And as they say at the end of every podcast, all of this will be in the show notes, guys. All of these links will be in the show notes. So if you want to connect with Julie, her LinkedIn will be tagged in the show notes, your Instagram, and your website as well. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much, Lauren. It was great.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Over Cocktails, where real stories and bold business moves come to life. If this episode lit something up in you, share it with a friend, tag me at Lauren Najar or the podcast page at Business Over Cocktails. Make sure to leave a quick review as well. It helps more than you know. Until next time, keep chasing what matters and building the business that feels like you. Cheers!